Greetings, Africa enthusiasts. I hope this video finds you well today. I wanted to take the time to explain further about why I decided to share the video about Brother Pernell Hill. Sharing that video, I know it stirred up a lot of feelings, especially from the men. But I want to take this video to share who I am as an individual. I've been a social justice champion my entire life. My dad was an activist, his dad was an activist, my mother serving on the front lines. So social justice and reform is in my DNA. I'm putting together a small video. Hopefully, you'll understand better why I did what I did and why I said what I said. And it wasn't to be disrespectful, but it was to address some pertinent issues that the Black community oftentimes wants to hide behind. So I'm going to share a little bit of my history, my family history, and you should know that Aboriginals are indigenous Americans in various different forms and nationalities. Some of us range from the lightest hue to the darkest hue. So we're not all cut from the same cloth. And I'll go into that a little bit. So, history is skewed, and geography, we have been lied to about geography, the maps of Africa, the maps of North America. And so we want to try to blend those things together to get to take an accurate assessment of history and geography. So, yes, although we share the same skin tone, many of us has various background. The original man came from Africa. There's no disputing that. But there's also Aborigines and indigenous people that lived in the Americas long before the slave trade. So I'm going to cover a little bit of that and tell you why I believe many of us um, have various perspectives. We are multifaceted, multidimensional. So there's no one size fit all with us. But thank goodness we're going to pull it together. So I hope this video helps you to understand a little bit more about me. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch um, my video. I want you to know that it's not just in Gambia. These types of injustices are taking place all across Africa, in the world. So you'll find everywhere we are marginalized people and we are discounted people and we do each other more harm than we do good. So it's not just Africa, but it is quite shocking that the Americans who are going to Africa have not prepared themselves to be on the ground in Africa. I believe there should have been some homework. There should have been a connection long before. I had a connection early on as a child from the time I was 5 or 6 years old. My parents, the community, dealing with those who were served as Black Panther members, and so we were kind of raised to understand who we were. We knew our culture and our background, and yes, it is multifaceted and multidimensional. So I hope you will understand this video, and please understand that where I was coming from was not from a hurtful place. But I know hurt people hurt people. In the meantime, it gives me an opportunity to be a voice for those who don't have a voice. And so I am a strong advocate for making sure that our people are served justice when justice is needed. So thank you, Africa enthusiasts. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to ask those questions and I'll do my best to answer them for you. This is a serious matter, but we're going to lighten the load a little bit and have some fun with it, okay? It's serious, but we don't have to take it so serious where it prohibits us from thinking outside of the box. Okay, guys, here I go. I'm sure some of you have said, who is BY's Africa Movement? Where is she from? Who does she think she is? The maternal side of my family has a rich history from Guinea-Bissau, the Fulani people. Also, the maternal side has Mandinka. My grandmother is connected to Liberia. In Liberia, you'll find the Kru people, and as well as Sierra Leone. In Sierra Leone, you will find the Mende people. So we are genetically also affiliated with the 5 tribes. Africa enthusiasts. The 5 tribes was also known as the Black tribes in Oklahoma Territory. These 5 Black tribes were called Aboriginal Natives. The first one was Cherokee Nation. Then you had the Chickasaw Nation, the Choctaw Nation, the Creek Nation, and the Seminole Nation. On my paternal side of my family, no slave records can be found. During the human trafficking of the transatlantic slave trade, all records have been lost. However, Frederick Douglass left us with an invaluable truth. Brother Douglass said, "Knowledge makes a man unfit to be a slave." This is my paternal grandfather. He's fair-skinned with green eyes, and his wife, my paternal grandmother, she has Aboriginal features and cold, straight black hair. This is my maternal grandparents, Fred and Laura Renfro. I am her namesake. I got my middle name from her, Laura. This is my father, Dr. William T. Irby. He was a bishop in the AME Church for over 60 years. He was a very intense man and abusive. I later found out in life that it had a lot to do with his upbringing. This is my mother, Dorothy. She was a gospel singer. She was beautiful and very shapely. That beauty sometimes often created the space for the resentment and the abuse to take place. It was basically built out of insecurity and fear. And most black families had a big mama. Big mama was the glue that held us all together. We were taught how to live on purpose. Then my sister on the far left with the fro, her name was Audrey. Audrey was an introvert and an artist who later became a drug addict and alcoholic. She died of cancer at the age of 52 years old, never having the opportunity to overcome those barriers. But she was such a beautiful person inside and out. In the meantime, as a young child, I struggled because I was an introvert myself, trying to navigate being the baby of 10 children. So I was the chap. I was dealing with the loss of my mother, so I had to grow up extremely fast. Learning how to navigate different environments was going to be my strategy to survive. I was dancing to the beat of the drum of our ancestors, and I met a wonderful man from Nigeria who was the love of my life. Accepting his friendship and love was quite easy for me because we were raised in African tradition, and African culture. I made a bold decision with his support to join the United States Air Force, and off I went. For more than 30 years, I was a natural practitioner, eating only those things that would build and repair my body. So, organic was the way that I chose to live my life. And it's a good thing that I was living my life, this holistic lifestyle, because in 2013, I had a fatal accident that left me incapacitated for 3 years. I couldn't care for myself. My sister had to fly in to bathe me, and it was during this period where I suffered the most with my body and wondered how can I recover. I was on narcotic for 3 years and decided that I wasn't going to live my life as a cripple, so I attempted suicide. I took a bunch of the pain pills and woke up 3 days later. When I woke up, I said, God, you are real jokey. Tell me what I'm supposed to do with my life. And then it came to me. My life was designed for me to be a person of service. I was on the social justice avenue. In order to support those who didn't have a voice, I became a voice for them. Because as I laid on my bed for 3 years, I was without a voice. So after my recovery, I got married, and my husband and I were so elated. We journeyed to South Africa, where we spent some time in nature, regrouping, trying to understand. He was a doctor, a sociologist, so we shared commonality in African history and African culture, and we just embraced South Africa. He gave me so much about humanity and what we need in order to progress as a people. I can relate to dating someone outside of your age group or even marrying outside of your age group. My husband was 20 years older than I was. He was my first and only husband, but the age gap was too much. While I was in Gambia doing the work of a Zeta and my philanthropic work, it was an interesting opportunity for me, and the sisterhood and brotherhood was there for me. But my seventh sister passes away. I was so confused and conflicted. And all of a sudden, the ancestors reconnected me to a man who had loved me in spite of all of my difficulties and all of my hurt and my pain. We was reconnected finally. Head back to America to check on my friend, Miss Do Right Donna. We were going to the gun shop to get us some protection to make sure we can take care of ourselves, because America had a lot going on at the time with the police brutality and all the other things that were happening, the protests. We wanted to make sure that we could take care of ourselves. Then back to Gambia, I go fully committed. The ambassador Dada Fadera dies, and then my ex-husband passes away. So I am headed back to America. I'm saddened by the fact that my brother, who has diabetes, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, and dementia, suffered fourth-degree burns on his lower extremities by the person who was his caretaker, turned out to be his girlfriend. This person was 20 years his junior. She was into it for the money, and she wasn't into him. He himself had issues that he had to overcome, and that's why it was so easy for her to take advantage of him. Despite his trauma, he remains with us today, and he is on a road to recovery. we value him and his strength. I believe we all have a purpose and we're all standing on the shoulders of our ancestors. It is up to us to discover what that is and explore the world which we have been blessed with. Thank you for watching, and remember to be a voice for the voiceless. I was created to be a social justice champion and a truth teller. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Peace out.